a setting sun, and a rain-soaked winding hill road. Cold gusts of wind shake off droplets clinging to the cedar leaves, while shifting clouds swirl in and out of view, and the damp scent of moss growing on the hillside fills the air. Elon silently gazed at Nia, drumming his fingers on the roof of the black ambassador car parked along the footpath. Then, with a long, heavy sigh, he slid both hands into the pockets of his pants. Nia remained just as she was, still staring into the hundreds of feet deep gorge. She wasn't looking this way, wasn't even moving, like an angry, yet strikingly beautiful statue. Smiling faintly, Alone ran his hand through his hair.
So stubborn,
He said, stepping closer. Standing about 8 inches taller than her, he brought his face directly in front of hers.
You've only ever held the steering wheel 2 or 3 times.
He smiled.
I can drive.
She said, turning her face away as if she wouldn't speak to him again for the rest of her life. She had to turn away, otherwise, just looking at Elon's face would have made her fake anger melt away. There was something about his angelic face, those deep, black eyes. Elon just smiled again. Straightening up, he crossed his arms over his chest with mock seriousness.
I know, on that straight road in front of the house, you manage. But when you reverse, you either end up in the park or inside the neighbor's gate.
To hide his laugh, he placed his fingers lightly over his lips.
You can't handle a straight road. How will you manage a hill road like this?
That was 10 days ago.
She glanced briefly at Elon's face.
And this road is completely empty. It's just 5 more kilometers. Let me drive, please? Besides, you're with me.
Nia, it's getting dark. The road's still wet. The way you brake, the car could slip. I can't put you at risk just for.
You have my promise now.
Nia fired her final arrow from her quiver, smiling up at Elon with those large, glowing eyes. Elon turned his face to the side and let out a deep sigh. That was it. From the moment the debate had started, he'd known he would lose, and he did. He handed her the keys, reluctantly, and quietly got into the car. Nia grabbed the steering wheel and glanced at Elon out of the corner of her eye. The way he fastened his seatbelt made it obvious he was upset, but she'd calm him down. She knew it wasn't hard. Keeping her smile intact, she started the engine. Within a few meters, even the faint nervousness on Siddha's face, born of Elon's concern, vanished. Now she was enjoying the drive. A beautiful day, a scenic road, and Elon's company. She could drive this car forever. At a sharp turn, just as Nia turned the car, Elon held his breath, only letting it go once they had passed safely. The road lay empty far ahead, but still, every time Nia turned at a bend, Elon grew visibly anxious. He leaned slightly forward in his seat, his steady hands instinctively inching toward the steering wheel.
Let me drive the car. Please.
He said again, furrowing his brows.
You're scaring me.
Elon leaned back in his seat.
Then drive more carefully, will you? And keep your eyes on the road, not on me.
Elbow resting against the window, Elon's index finger kept rubbing the pad of his thumb. He didn't want to show how nervous, how genuinely scared he was. Nia didn't have a firm grip on the car.
I wish I hadn't given in to her today.
The speedometer needle hovered steadily between 35 and 40. Nia had covered more than half the distance with ease, while Elon kept estimating how many bends were still left. The hotel was nearly at the mountain's peak, and with each passing kilometer, the valley beside the road grew deeper. At one such sharp curve, Elon was looking down into the gorge when, suddenly, the blinding headlights of a truck and the sharp blare of its horn hit him.
Nia!
He screamed. His hands instinctively grabbed the steering wheel, turning it sharply to the right to avoid the oncoming truck from the left. Nia's foot slammed on the brake, but the car skidded on the wet road, hanging dangerously over the edge. Terrified, Nia and Elon looked at each other, and before either of them could process what was happening, the car slipped over the edge into the valley below.
Elon.
The scream stuck in her throat as Alicia's eyes flew open in bed. Her breath was coming in gasps, like a bellows. Above her, the white ceiling fan hung still. She blinked twice. Realizing she was safely in her bed, she turned her head toward the wall clock, 2:30 a.m. With a deep breath, she propped herself up on one elbow, grabbed the glass of water from the side table, took a sip, and lay back down. The next day, 3 p.m., the Army School on Old Scholars Road, surrounded by tall green cedar trees, was soaked in the late February drizzle. Winter was beginning to retreat from the cold hills of Missouri. 17-year-old Alicia sat in Mrs. Nair's dim laboratory, staring steadily at the flame of a candle. Her sharply defined features, already angelic, looked even more chiseled today. Her thin fingers, pressed tight against the arms of the chair, trembled slightly. She took 2 deep breaths. She didn't want to lose control. For the past 25 minutes, Mrs. Nair had been trying to hypnotize her, and she seemed more eager than Alicia herself. Very few students ever agreed to be her subject. Even Alicia had only come because Neha convinced her. Otherwise, she would have never agreed to this. And now she was beginning to regret giving in. Today, they were only supposed to collect exam admit cards from school. It should have taken just an hour. But thanks to Neha, it was taking twice as long. The fleeting expressions on Alicia's face and the occasional sharp glances she shot toward Neha sitting in the dark corner made it clear she was tired and bored of Mrs. Nair's attempts. But the teacher hadn't given up yet. With thick lenses perched on her nose, she was repeating her memorized lines with increasing intensity, her voice rising with every sentence. Just once, Alicia's eyes drifted away from the candle flame and landed on Mrs. Nair's face. In an unexpectedly soft voice, for harsh words slipped from her lips on their own.
It's a shit thing.
She blew out the candle flame. As the smoke rose, Mrs. Nair's focus broke.
What happened?
She asked, her mouth slightly open.
Ma'am, let's just leave this.
Alicia said, hesitating slightly as she stood up from the chair. Swinging her bag over her right shoulder, she added,
If you can tell me anything, just tell me this. Are dreams like these normal?
Mrs. Nair's pupils widened with a strange kind of fear.
I don't think so,
she said, rising from her chair.
You've been seeing the same dream since childhood. How can that be normal?
I correct you. It's not the same dream I see. It's the same person I dream about.
Still.
Mrs. Nair moved her hands around Alicia's face, her voice deep and dramatic.
There must be a mystery behind it.
Alicia awkwardly leaned her head back.
If you had let yourself be hypnotized, I could have told you that mystery.
The same answer again. She should be some circus magician, Alicia thought, glancing once toward Neha.
No. Just leave it. Thanks.
Adjusting the strap of her bag on her shoulder, she walked toward the lab door.
Best of luck for your exams, Mrs. Nair called out from behind.
Alicia knew that the person she was trying to explain her problem to would never understand. In fact, no one ever did, not in the hostel, not even Neha, not even she herself. Lost in thought, her quick steps halted as she reached the edge of the corridor. The rain had picked up a little. Late winter rain, not the best time to get wet. She looked around. At the moment, either a few teachers were in the staff room, or some reckless boys were playing football in the rain. Other than that, the school was completely deserted. Stuffing her cold hands into her blazer pockets, Alicia leaned against a rust-colored pillar and tried to guess the rain's mood. Maybe it would stop? Reaching out her right hand beneath the dripping edge of the tin awning, she shivered as the cold water touched her skin. Her pale, delicate fingers looked even more radiant when wet. Her palms, the tips of her fingers, they had turned a deeper pink. Just like in childhood, the sight of rain still stirred a soft excitement deep inside her. Her eyes, which just moments ago had been annoyed, now looked gentle again. These clouds, this mist, the patter of rain, the soaked roads and swaying trees, all of it often made her feel close to someone. It was as if someone dear to her had just passed by, very near, yet unseen. Her lonely heart filled with a strange sense of absence, and she found herself questioning, what's missing in this beautiful atmosphere? Who is it that seems scattered across her entire world, blended into every bit of the season, yet never appears before her?
Standing here, are you?
A hand landed on her shoulder from behind. Startled, Alicia snapped out of her thoughts and turned around. Neha stood there, combing her light brown, blunt-cut hair with her fingers. Like Alicia, she was 5 feet 4 inches tall and slim. Only her complexion was dusky rather than Alicia's milky fair skin.
Where had you been?
Washroom.
Neha replied, glancing once more at the school building.
I'm really going to miss this place. Now that we're leaving, I'm realizing just how important this place has been in my life.
Alicia rolled her eyes and stepped out of the corridor.
So, we're just going to walk through the rain, huh?
If we hadn't gone to your precious Nair, we could have left earlier.
Alicia muttered as she marched through the rain-soaked courtyard with long strides. Neha reluctantly crossed the corridor threshold and followed behind her.
Walk a little slower, will you?
Neha called out, repeatedly brushing her hair away from her face as she trailed after Alicia all the way to the school gate.
Still, Nair did try, right? It's just that hypnotizing you isn't exactly easy.
Oh, so now that's my fault too, right? I told you already, I didn't want to go to your Mrs. Nair. She doesn't know what she's doing. Does anyone in this school even take her seriously? And if you don't want to turn into her, stop attending her classes.
She said it all in a single breath. The two stood under a tree by the side of the road, waiting for the bus. Many others had gathered under the same tree to take shelter from the rain. Although it wasn't an official bus stop, buses usually stopped there anyway. Before joining the army school, Alicia had studied at a prestigious English medium hostel in Missouri, and it showed. Her blazer pocket always carried chewing gum, a silent rebellion against the school's discipline. The moment she stepped outside the gates, she'd start chewing unfazed. Her confidence, attitude, and style stood apart from the other girls, and that difference drew attention. Nearly every boy who walked by stole a glance. There was something magnetic about her, especially her eyes. If you met her gaze, even for a second, it felt like time paused, as if those eyes could spill every secret she held inside. But Alicia's eyes never paused on any of them. To her, they were just immature, loud boys, beneath her attention. She endured their crude stares and foolish remarks in silence, chewing her gum, jaw tight, hoping her wait wouldn't be long. Just then, 2 buses appeared in the distance. She quickly flagged down the one headed to Library Road. Once inside, Neha found a seat and, after a moment's thought, brought up the topic again.
Alicia, she was trying to help you.
Alicia took the bag off her shoulder and placed it in her lap.
She wasn't helping me. She was practicing on me.
But it was partly your fault too, wasn't it? You didn't really tell her much about Elon and Mia.
What was I supposed to tell her?
Alicia replied, casting a sideways glance at Neha.
She freaked out after just a few details. If she had heard the full backstory from childhood, she'd probably be in a mental hospital by now.
Neha couldn't argue with that. She could actually imagine it. A white ambulance, 2 ward boys in hospital uniforms, dragging a screaming Mrs. Nair into the vehicle. What a horrible thought. She shook her head and turned to Alicia.
"'Kay, forget her. But tell me what you saw last night."
Spitting her chewing gum out of the bus window, Alicia replied,
Elon and Nia's accident.
"Oh, not again. I've heard this dream like 3 times already. So, did they die this time or survive? Honestly, I hope they did die. Maybe then they'll stop showing up in your dreams."
Despite all her irritation, Alicia couldn't hide anything from Neha. Teenage friendships don't take long to run deep. Even though they'd only become friends 2 years ago, there were no secrets between them. Until they told each other everything, it felt like nothing had really happened. That's why the one secret not even Alicia's family knew, Neha did.
"Your dreams are weirdly logical, you know that? I can't even remember mine. And if I do, they make no sense at all. But today you seem more disturbed than usual. What's going on? Tell me. You've never been this shaken by a dream before."
Because for the first time, my own mind is asking me, how do I know such personal details about their lives?
I mean, sure, you were with them, but even in their bedroom?
The bus screeched to a halt at Library Road. Like many others on the bus, this was Alicia and Neha's stop too. From there, they would have to walk around 2 kilometers to get home. They got off the bus. To avoid the fine drizzle, both kept their faces down toward the road.
Maybe you were just a kid and they didn't mind you being in their bedroom? But that would only happen with someone really close, so why doesn't your mom remember them?
Alicia shook her bowed head.
Parents who don't even remember their daughter's birthday, you think they would remember people?
She raised her gaze and seemed lost in thought.
Besides, every time Dad got transferred, we moved houses, neighborhoods. Elon had a soldier's build, maybe he was in Dad's battalion. We might not have stayed around long enough to form lasting memories.
Till you should talk to them, openly. Maybe something will jog their memory.
And what good will that do? You think they'll understand all this? Even if I explain, it'll just give them one more reason to fight with each other.
Emmy, they have to make time for you. They can't just leave you to deal with this on your own.
A tired little smile flickered on Alicia's downturned face and disappeared just as quickly.
Yeah, sure. You're only saying that because your family didn't dump you in a hostel at the age of 4. Your sleep, hunger, thirst, none of it ran on a clock like mine did. When you were old enough to understand things, your own people were around. Mine were teachers or house mothers.
But now you're with your parents, aren't you, idiot?
So what should I do?
Alicia snapped. It was like a dying ember had suddenly flared up again, like a long-restrained storm had found its momentum.
I don't feel like I'm at home. For years I cried in front of them, begging to come back home, but did anyone listen to me?
She struggled to control her quickening breath.
And then, when they thought I didn't even miss my family anymore, they forced me to come back here.
Her raised voice caught the attention of passers-by. The embarrassment quieted her for a moment. Alicia and Neha walked in silence for a while, heads lowered. Once her heart felt a little lighter, the weight of her outburst hit her. Wiping the rainwater off her face with her hands, she said,
Neha, I know they're my family, but it doesn't feel like I've come home. It feels more like I've been adopted. No matter how much we try, this gap between us won't close so quickly. No matter the topic, I can't speak in front of them. I need time to adjust. And about these dreams, they're not a real problem. I believe that one day, they'll stop completely.
Her steps slowed as they reached a house. Neha unlocked her gate and glanced at the falling rain.
"Wanna come in for a while?"
What are you saying? Dad's home. The moment I walk in, I'll have to sit through his lectures. Mom didn't go to the boutique today either, and I'm pretty sure the two of them are in the middle of an argument right now.
Okay, bye. But if you can, try talking to them once about your dreams.
Alicia turned her face away and shut her eyes tightly, letting out a long, deep sigh. Underscore 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 underscore. Alicia is much more of a realist than Neha. The atmosphere in her home and the way she was raised in the hostel don't allow her to link her dreams to any part of reality. To her, the only truth is what can be seen with open eyes, what she can touch, what has a clear beginning and a definite end. Still, she couldn't explain why she felt such a strange connection to Elon and Nia. There was an odd kind of familiarity with them. A warmth she could feel, but could never put into words. Alicia's father, Ranjan Sharma, a retired army officer now working a private job, was often away from Mussoorie. When home, his presence felt more like a prison than comfort. Hardened by military discipline, he understood little of emotions, dreams, or hope, concepts foreign to him. At her mother Kavita's wish, Alicia was sent to a hostel at 4. 2 years ago, under her father's insistence, she left the English medium hostel for the army school, accused of drifting from the family. Now, both parents expected her to fit in, but for Alicia, belonging was difficult. At home, she spoke only when necessary, spending most time with Neha or behind her closed room door, lost in books or music, a world she controlled like a creature in a burrow, emerging only when needed. She paused before their modest, charming house nestled on a quiet road. Unlike typical hill homes with sloping roofs, theirs had a flat middle section, a shared spot where her parents sipped tea together. The red and white house featured a red-tinged portico with 4 slightly slanted pillars, an open wooden veranda, and symmetrical windows flanking the main door. Stepping through the bamboo-fenced gate, Alicia walked along a cement path that cut through a courtyard transformed by her own hands. Once wild and barren, it now bloomed with dahlias, roses, and lilies, her sanctuary amid soft velvet green grass bordered by gray marble, a quiet testament to her love for nature. Mussoorie, a costly hill station where winter never truly fades, stretches its cold grip for 8 long months each year, making daily life nearly 8 times more expensive. Even Ranjan Sharma, a retired army officer from a modest background, now relies on his wife's boutique to support the family, alongside his own job. Years ago, he had invested his entire retirement fund into this very house. Samiksha climbed the wooden veranda, her heels clicking softly, wiped her damp shoes on the mat, and stepped inside. As she had expected, the atmosphere was tense. Her father sat hidden behind a newspaper on one end of the sofa, her mother behind a fashion magazine on the other. They were like magnetic poles, always close but never connecting. Her younger brother Arun, just 15, had grown used to the silent wars, escaping into the Discovery Channel's animal shows, while Samiksha bore the daily strain alone. She slipped quietly down the hallway to her room, leaving her rain-soaked school bag by the door. Inside, she moved to the only window, large and without bars, and climbed onto its sill, seeking solace in the view. Her small 12-square-foot room was simple, a bed at its center, a stool holding a lamp for late-night reading. The study table bore no chair, books, laptop, and music CDs neatly arranged and used for sitting, but a quiet haven for her thoughts. To the left of her bed stood an old wooden dresser, a cherished heirloom from her grandmother. On the right, a sturdy wardrobe. Nearby, a small door led to her private bathroom. For 2 years, Samiksha hadn't changed a thing. This tiny room demanded careful planning even to shift a chair. Pulling a loose blue sweatshirt over her head, she stepped out quietly. The living room was empty. Her parents were away. Across the hall, Arun's bedroom door stood half open. Peeking in, she saw him seated on the floor, surrounded by scattered photo albums. Of all the corners in the house, this was the one she never hesitated to enter. Arun, the youngest, was also the most emotionally grounded, the only one who had truly given her the space to accept him as her brother.
What are you doing?
Samiksha asked, stepping inside.
Nothing, just passing time.
Arun said, picking up the last album and flipping through the photos, searching for something. Kneeling beside him, she smiled.
That's a lot of effort just to pass time.
Then read my face and tell me why I'm really doing it.
He replied mischievously, pulling out one of his childhood photos, a particularly cute one, and setting it aside. Samiksha glanced at the photo and instantly understood everything.
What's her name?
Hina.
She's Muslim.
So what? Still, I've got to admit, your face reading skills are on point.
That's not face reading, it's common sense. Who else would you pull out your cutest childhood picture for, you idiot?
Samiksha took that photo of little Arun in her hands, and soon she found herself caught in the pull of nostalgia. The two of them ended up flipping through half a dozen albums spread across the floor. In those old photographs were glimpses of moments long gone, moments that brought an automatic smile to their faces. Their grandparents, a wooden horse painted yellow and green, a red tricycle with 3 wheels, their old army quarters, a few forgotten friends. It was hard to believe these had once been important parts of their lives. Life had raced forward like a train on tracks, flashing glimpses of such scenes as it passed, and now, where had it brought them? Apart from these photographs, there is no proof left today that once, their uncle had scolded her for mischief. Sometimes Samiksha used to take her 2-year-old brother on a bicycle and go around the courtyard. Sometimes there was a white dog in their house, Doggy. While looking at these photographs, something suddenly got stuck in Samiksha's mind. Arun was getting up after collecting all the albums and said,
I will keep these. I also have to find something in them.
What do I have to find?
Arun looked at her and left the albums back on the floor, while thinking,
That. Do you have a magnifying glass?
Alicia thought that if Elon or Nia were ever in her life, then they will definitely be found somewhere in these photographs. It is possible that her mother could remember them, but the photographs would have the face of every person whom they knew at that time. Alicia opened all the albums again. All these photographs are from after her 4th birthday, which was her last birthday with his family, so after 10-12 photographs, Alicia was missing from every album. These photographs tell us that even after she went to the hostel, there were many occasions when the whole family was together, happy, but the absence of Alicia was not visible on anyone's face. This small thing about her childhood had never bothered her before today. But due to the quality of adaptation, even today this prick remained on her face for some time, then disappeared from her face as she turned the photographs. She does not pay undue attention to anything. Alicia is turning the pages of the album very carefully. She does not want to miss any face. If she gets a glimpse of even one of Elon or Nia, she will find the clue, holding on to which she can reach both of them, or at least their truth. Alicia looked at the entire album one by one. She stared intently at the person in each photograph, but none of them had their faces. She closed the last album with a little disappointment. It was as if a good opportunity had slipped out of her hands. She looked at Jack.
Don't we have any more photographs? In which we were younger?
There are a few albums and some framed photographs, but Mummy has kept them all locked in the storeroom.
Where is the key?
In just 5 minutes, Alicia was opening the door of the storeroom covered with spider web.